Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, where three women in tech come together to share real stories about leadership, life, and everything in between. Join our hosts, Caramie McCollum.
In other news, these headphones, I'm going to have to do something else. I am on fire.
Cassandra Parker.
It's pretty basic. We have to stay fully caffeinated in order to do all the things that we do.
And Rachel Rogers.
I don't know if we can survive this. I feel like this one goes in the vault.
Your go-to source for candid conversations and unfiltered insights. So, grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join the chaos.
Well, on this very special edition of Coffee Meets Cloud, we are very excited because we have some important announcements this morning. So grab your coffee and let's get into it with a public service announcement, starting with, hey, folks, guess what? We're going weekly.
Woo-hoo.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep. Super excited. The group chat is taking it up a notch. We hope that you enjoy these commentary sessions, and we're going to switch up format a little bit on you. You may have heard Betsy's episode. If you haven't, go check it out. Super cool talk with a recruiter, but we're going to do that a little more often, speaking with a guest every other week. And then in the in-between weeks, we're sorry, you pulled the short straw. You're stuck with us. But we're going to make sure we keep it interesting and keep it real as we always do. So good morning and welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud or Caramie.
So that was Rachel's impersonation of me.
It was
You're
pretty
welcome.
good. It was pretty good.
That was
It's
pretty
basically Emmy worthy at this point.
Oh, it was spot on. It definitely sounds like me.
It does. If no one's heard Lainey Wilson's version of What's Up, What's Going On, yes, that's the name of it. You should go listen to it. We'll tag it in the comments, but fantastic version of the original What's Up by the Four Non-Blondes, if you didn't know that. Welcome to Music Hour here on Coffee Meets Cloud, where you can learn all the things you never wanted to know.
I'm surprised we actually haven't done more musical references given the musicality of this group.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know that anyone really knows how musical we really are. We are quite musical people.
I am a musical person. However, I am not a current musical person. If you were to start referencing anything from the last, 5 years, probably not going to know what it is. I'm stuck in the past and I never turn on the radio. So
yeah, but musical person, right? Like you're musically inclined. Cassandra's
sure.
in the choir, right? I have a geek band, right? Like there's different things going on. It doesn't necessarily mean you got to be up with the hipness of the kids these days.
Speaking of being musically inclined, Cassandra and I are dead set on finding a karaoke place in San Francisco to show up at and throw down.
Yes.
It is happening.
So if you're in San Francisco for Dreamforce and you want to see Caramie and I make complete fools of ourselves, because that's what you do at karaoke.
If we get our hands on a location, we will absolutely do.
We'll put it on socials. And
I will hook you ladies up. There's a couple places, but the band used to get invited to a couple of them all the time. And so I'll connect you with Ben, my co-vocalist, banjo player. I mean, like he plays like all sorts of instruments too. And yeah. Anyway, he's going to be there and he always has the hookup on those things. So
oh yeah,
going to be some good riffness there.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I think I've told y'all this before, but my favorite Dreamforce experience I ever had was, last year, because I was in the hotel room alone and was like, what am I going to do? Didn't have plans. And I just happened to look out the hotel window, and down at the street level, there was a bar on the corner of the building across the street. And they had this big lit up sign that said karaoke. And I just walked over there by myself, sat down at the bar, had a drink or two. There was some amazing young 20-something-year-old Russians who lived around the corner. They apparently frequented this karaoke bar, and they were getting down. And so I just sang karaoke for like 2 hours with this group of strangers, and it was amazing.
See, I love that. There is nothing that brings people together more than music. I don't care if you're a great singer, you're a terrible singer. It's fun. It's like it goes across cultures. I mean, music is life. I love music.
Facts. Big facts.
So
How are
that's
y'all?
what we're
How
gonna
are
do.
y'all doing? Like, what's the life updates? Tell me everything.
Well, my
Mm.
internet is currently giving me all kinds of grief, so they're supposed to come fix it today.
There's got to be something. Like, is there? It's obviously not in the water. I don't know what you would call it, but I'm having issues. You're having issues. We're not the only people I know having issues.
Right.
We live nowhere near each other. What is going on?
Well, literally, what's going
Oh,
on? That is the
nice
title of
reference.
this
You're
episode.
welcome.
What's going on? But
Mhm.
seriously, like when you work from home, let's get real. When you work
Ugh.
from home and your internet does not work, what do you do? It is very hard. I went to a coffee shop yesterday. I worked from a parking lot for a minute. I came home and kind of maybe stole a little internet from the neighbor that I could possibly get to, right? So like
Wait,
I'm
pause. Is this the same neighbor who stole room in your trash can? Because if
mm,
so,
mm,
this is feeling
mhm.
like a.
It's fair. It's all fair.
It is totally fair.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So, short story, the neighbor out my office is in the front of my house. The neighbor was coming over like every week and putting extra trash in my second trash can, which by the way, I don't care. It's who cares, right? It's
It's
trash.
the
I don't it
but
doesn't cost me more.
it's the audacity.
Right.
It
It's
is
like
the entitlement. Like, I
you
need
just
to understand.
you just didn't ask. Like, is it okay if I throw an extra bag of trash in your trash can? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Mm-mm-mm.
Eh. But now I've bummed a little Wi-Fi, so it's fair.
Now we're even.
Now we're even.
What about
I
you,
don't
Rachel?
I don't know if those are even things, but yeah. So I'm very excited, and this is gonna sound, kind of crazy, and it's okay. I have the day off today, which is great news for me. And even better news, my husband brought me home rocks last night. And you may not understand like how great this is. So he works in construction. They were at a job site and the job site didn't need all of these like beautiful pebble rocks, the gray ones that you see, right? That are all different textures. And so he calls me and he's like, "Do you want some rocks?" And I'm like, "Yes," because free rocks when you live on almost an acre and you have drainage challenges, or you want to swap out some mulch in your beds for some rocks and things like that, like that can get pretty pricey. So he brought home 3,000 pounds of rocks last night and we got them out of the back of his truck. I should say mainly he got them out of the back of his truck
Very carefully.
because no, no, there was a rake involved. Like it was great.
When it's
But
free
they're
rock, you're
all
not worried about a few casualties. You just rake that stuff out onto the ground.
exactly. And so now they're all in the driveway. And so today, after I get back from getting my car fixed from my car accident that happened in June, because this is still a thing. So after I get back from getting that, I'm gonna be in my yard doing
Rocking.
rock work,
She's gonna be
which
rocking.
rocking. I'm gonna have the headphones in, so I will definitely have some Lainey Wilson on, maybe throw in a couple other genres in there. I've got Ed Sheeran in the background that I've been listening to a lot lately, and Eric Church's brand new The Machine record.
Oh,
If you
so
have
good.
not listened to it, I highly, highly recommend. He's got some great songs on there. One specifically, well, there's a couple I really like. One is Darkest Hour, which is actually all the proceeds go to the Helene victims, which is fantastic. And it's about just helping somebody in their darkest hour, which I feel like with the world right now, we could really use. And the other one I recommend is called Johnny. And Johnny, he actually recently went on a show and revealed that he wrote it after dropping his kids off at school after a school shooting had happened.
I saw an interview
And
about that.
right. And it's about, Johnny come back, because Johnny the devil went down to Georgia, right? And so the devil's back. And so he wants Johnny to come take the devil out again. And so it's a really good song. It's kind of sad as a parent that that's where we are. And when you know that context, it really makes that song very pull on your heartstrings. But yeah, so that's what's up. Super excited about rock and homecoming's underway. We got the shirts in yesterday for Kinley's crew because she made the homecoming court. So at the football game, we've got our purple shirts that are all set up for the game. So rocking right along.
You mean HOCO, right? Not homecoming.
Yes.
Hoko.
Yes.
All I can say is
Poco for Nofo. How about that? Because North Forsyth High School goes by
Oh.
Nofo. They don't go by North Forsyth High School.
Oh.
all
Mhm.
the abbreviations. I will say, after our conversation on the last episode, or whichever episode it was, about 6-7, it's Betsy's episode. We were talking about 6-7.
Yeah.
We're listening to it. My son, who's 5, likes to listen to the episodes when they come out in the car on the way to school. It's really sweet. He's like, Mommy, let's listen to Coffee Cloud. That's what he calls it. It's cute. But
That
then
is
we're
cute.
listening to it, and we got to the point about 6-7, and he looks at me and goes, 6-7. I was like, what is this? He said, my friends say that all the time. I said, what does it mean? He goes, I don't know. Okay, well,
That's
at least you don't
awesome.
know. But I laughed so hard. It was just the way he said it. 6-7.
Yeah. Rowan came in to whatever room I was in one day when I was editing the show, and he was like, Mama, is that you? And I was like, yeah. And he says, what is this? And I said, it's a podcast show. He said, you're on a podcast show? So he thinks I'm like a whole celebrity now, and I'm gonna just let him think it. I'm
Do
just
it.
like, I absolutely am on a podcast show, son. Just goes to show you could do anything you want to do.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Oh, I'll tell you, while we're talking about kids, yesterday my internet was out. I needed to work. I went to a coffee shop. I worked from a coffee shop for a few hours. I get in the car to pick Liam up, and he's like, how was your day? We talk about how our day were.
Mhm.
He says, Mommy, how was your day? I said, well, it was okay. I had to go work at a coffee shop because my internet was out. And he said, when did you start working for a coffee shop? And I was like,
Oh,
no, I didn't work for the coffee shop. I was just at the coffee shop. He was like,
right.
oh, like he still doesn't understand. He thought I worked for the coffee shop. So,
Maybe you could do both.
maybe.
Hey.
I
And the
mean,
spirit, hey, I love this place. It's a great little local place. I love it. They were so sweet to me. They're like, yeah, sit here all day if you want to. It's totally fine. So
That's so cool.
shout out to the Calhoun Coffee Company if you're in Calhoun, Georgia, which probably nobody is.
Hey, they might be. They might be.
Might be.
Give that little town some credit.
Right.
I have been waiting to give you guys an update about Rowan and the school situation. Because I wanted to save it for the podcast. I haven't updated you guys, right? Like I didn't tell you how it
Nope.
went. Okay, so I think when we talked about it before, where I left it with you guys was we had a meeting with his teacher, and we were at a loss for what we were going to do, but we figured, hey, let's just put him on a 504 and kind of go from there. So I emailed his teacher and said, hey, you asked us to go home and think about it. We have. I chat GPT'd like some recommendations. I mean, I could spend hours scouring articles on the internet and going through all these books that Rowan's therapist gave us one time, or I could have chat GPT summarize what's on the internet. So that's what I did. And I pulled out the things that seemed to make sense for him. And I included that in my email to the teacher and said, hey, maybe we can try some of these things, but also we'd like to start the process for the 504 just because it seems like, we're at the point where we may need it. She got back to me and she copied in one of the assistant principals and said, this is the person at the school who does the process for the 504s. So I've copied her in, la, 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 la. Fortunately, she actually scheduled a meeting with us like 3 days later. So it was very swift. I guess I'll use the word apprehensive about going in because I'm thinking to myself, like, I've not met this woman. What's her vibe? What is she like is she going to be irritated? And also still, I'm like, what are we actually going to do in the classroom that's going to make a difference? Like, okay, cool. He's on a program or whatever you would call a 504, but then what? That's not action, right? We go in and sit down. She is the most pleasant person I think I've ever worked with in a school system. I'm like, lady, you were built for this job, But it was really cool because she said, I've heard a little bit from his teacher, but I'd like to start with you guys just explaining Rowan. I don't know him really at this point. Tell me what you think I should know about him, kind of deal. So we did. And she was like, that's very cool because everything you just said is basically what his teacher has said about him. She said, I know you mentioned a 504, but I had a suggestion I wanted to mention. She said, not that the 504 is off the table. She said, but he does really well with the content of the curriculum. He's smart. He understands it. He does well with the assignments when he can focus. So this is not, she said, a 504 is typically for someone who needs accommodations to be able to access the content, like a learning disability or something where they have a hard time with the content. She said his is more of a behavioral challenge due to the ADHD. She said, so, and I don't like what she called this. I feel like it's got a negative connotation, but maybe that's just what it's called. She said, I'm recommending a behavioral intervention. And immediately I'm thinking, what, like he's going to be on a write-up plan? Like, what the heck does that mean? But she had this paper and she had already taken his day and the courses. I don't know what they call it in elementary school, but it's basically course blocks. They have math and then they have science or whatever. She broke his day up into chunks in these boxes. So the first 2 things of the day, and then they have whatever it is, and then they go to the next 2. She broke it up, and he has the opportunity to earn points in those blocks. So if he focuses really hard on transitioning and completing the tasks in those classes, then at the end of that chunk, he gets extra break time to do something that he likes to do. If he wants to get up and move or take a walk or whatever, in his case, he gets back on their little computers and does a little coding course that they can access online. He gets like an extra 10 or 15 minutes to kind of shake it off sort of deal before he goes into the next section of his day. So there's 3 blocks of this. And it's really cool because it incentivizes him to really focus in that time that he's supposed to, because that's the only way that he earns it. But then he gets that reward of doing that thing he gets to pick, right? Like it's up to him what he does. And then we told him, we'll set a goal for, at the point you get X number of points, which will take several days. Like if he has a perfect week, he would earn it in a week, but he's never going to have a perfect week. But when you reach a certain point, you'll get an extra, sort of reward at home, right? You'll earn some extra allowance money or whatever. We haven't actually figured out what we're going to give him for the extra points, but that has been going really, really, really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I was just so pleasantly surprised that she had a suggestion, because at that point, the teacher had just been looking at us like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I have no idea.
That'll show you right there that when you've got the right people in the right positions that are truly focused on like doing their job the best they possibly can, how much of a difference they can make, right? Like that person, even though she doesn't work with Rowan every single day, she's made a huge difference in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing. I love
I've
that.
been meaning to write her an email because I don't know if she really understands what that meant to us. Maybe she does, but maybe she doesn't. And I think she should know, because I hope she will continue that approach in her whole career. Because you really do feel just like really lost and at a loss for what the next move should be when they reach out to you about stuff like that. The other thing that was really cool is after that episode aired where we talked about neurospicy kids and just schools and all that, we had a listener send a message about their child and how they are neurospicy, and was just saying some things that they had tried. And I thought that was really cool. She said he had a auditory, she said, this might not help your son, but just in case kind of thing. He had an auditory processing evaluation, her son did. And they discovered that he can hear. He doesn't have a problem hearing, but the processing of it, the retention of what he's hearing. And I'm saying this in layman's terms. She gave me a bunch of technical jargon, but it would take forever to read the whole thing. So through that evaluation and the results for him, they were able to give her suggestions to take back to his school to help him really actually hear and retain what he's hearing at school. Like, let's see, a multimodal teaching style helps compensate for the weak listening skills. Being placed in a quiet environment for testing and completing assignments, breaking the directions down into smaller parts. Because honestly, and Rowan probably has this too, because I have the same thing. After so many words come at me, I just start hearing the Peanuts teacher. Wah, 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 wah. Like, you have got to give it to me in the highlights reel. Give me the 5 bullets.
Yeah.
If you add a bunch of fluff and it takes you 10 minutes to get through it with me, you lost me about 3 minutes in, truly.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was cool. I mean, there's a lot of neurospicy kids. Honestly, I think we're all on a spectrum neurologically. I don't think there is any such thing as a neurotypical person. We're all somewhere on a spectrum.
Well, it's just like saying the definition of normal is based on your viewpoint, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's like my daughter the other day said, "Oh, well, we're not crazy." I was like, "Yeah, says you."
Right.
Right? Like you all have that perspective. I think, one other interesting one, we all know a person that has a hearing disability that is actually they hear too much, which I didn't know was a thing, right? Which is also very hard to get tested for and very hard to go through that process. And she spent a large portion of her life not knowing about it. But that's again one of those that could be an accommodation, and it would be very hard for someone to know that their kid hears too much because the kid does respond, right?
Mhm.
The kid can hear what you're saying. So, getting diagnosed with something like that in school can be a challenge. And I've got a coworker right now that is going through, she's having to pull her kid out of school to do half days in school now, to really focus on um, speech training and things like that because her kid has speech mirroring. So if she says something the day before, like, "Hey, how did you like the salmon?" And then the next day he gets in the car after school and she'll say, "How was your day?" And he'll say, "How did you like the salmon?"
Oh.
And so he doesn't necessarily like he can't find the words to express himself. He repeats what you've said at some point back to you.
Hmm.
And so he mirrors speech a lot. And so she's got to get him some kind of specialized help that goes beyond what the school is doing because beyond, the school is trying to do a lot, right? And is trying to help. But in those situations, right, they're really limited on resources. And so I think
Right.
again, connecting with parents and getting that kind of network going of, there are tons of kids with many different issues. And so how do we create a world where you can get resources and you don't have to know the things. You don't have to ask ChatGPT. You could ask a mom who's been through it because
Yeah.
moms deal with some real bleepity bleep,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to do this over or like I met someone who was starting to encounter some of this and wanted to know where to start, just based on what we've been through, where we've been, I would just say start with your child's pediatrician and, talk about the things going on. Ask for recommendations, right? Not necessarily referrals, but ask them for the type of provider their pediatrician feels like could be the starting point. And where you start is probably not going to be where you end up. Right. You're going to have to start somewhere. There's going to have to be a baseline evaluation by someone who knows more than a pediatrician. And then you've got to go from there. And in our experience, the minute we felt like we had really gotten things situated and kind of had like a routine and knew what to expect and things were going well, it switches up and there's another challenge. So, which I think is parenting in a nutshell anyway, no matter the child. But we actually have an evaluation for Rowan coming up on Monday with a provider that does psychological services because when he got his ADHD diagnosis, that was from his pediatrician that he had at the time. Now, the pediatrician has some specialty training in ADHD, but still she's a pediatrician. She's not a mental health provider.
You are being very serious because Sandra's light keeps going off and she's like throwing things at the wall to try and get it to come back on.
Because I had to move over from my house because my internet's dead. to our church. So I'm sitting in one of our classrooms and they have all these lights that just on timers if you don't
automatic.
walk past it, right? So that people don't just waste power. So every 15 minutes or whatever the light turns off and I'm throwing things to try to like
When it
motion
happened to you
sensor.
earlier, I thought someone had come in and turned the light off, like,
No.
because you kept looking over. I was like, "Oh, somebody came in and thought the light got left
I
on."
was like, "Where's the light switch?" And I started throwing anything I could find. Like, "Oh, I'll be back home soon. They're coming today to fix my internet." Jeez Louise.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, man.
Anyway, he's having a full I mean, like, I have to go in and spend some time with this person and explain everything we've seen, and then he's gotta go in. I mean, it's like I won't say it's an all-day thing, but it's, like, from 9 to 2 in total.
Ooh, that's a long day.
But
That
it
is
will
pretty
be
good.
nice because, like, if he is on the spectrum at all, if there are other things he deals with, I mean, because some of the things he presents, they cross over. Like, yeah, they could be ADHD or they could be other things. There have been some newer symptoms that he hasn't always had where we're just like, So we just want a professional to take a really thorough look so that we can set him up to be as successful as we can. And whatever he needs, he's got it kind of deal. So we'll see.
That's awesome. And shout out to all the teachers who have to like try to teach kids that have all this different issues, right? Like you don't know what kind of issues you have in your classroom. And especially when they're that young, you don't even, they may not even be diagnosed. So you may not, you know,
Right.
something is going on with a child, but you don't even know what it is. And you've got 20 of them in one classroom. Whew, bless them.
Well, and
Well-
imagine any of those kids don't have engaged parents
Right.
who are
Well-
partnering with that teacher.
And not only that, but like, my mom's been a teacher for 40 years now. And she's always taught littles, right? She used to teach first grade. Now she teaches second grade. But a lot of times too, like you feel bad because you feel like you want to do more per kid, but you have 20 of them.
Right.
And you can't scale, right? And it's not about being, the person who doesn't want to help. It's not about, being a negative person, but that weighs on you. And I think, from my mom and watching her go through it year after year after year, it mentally, she comes home drained. She's got a lot going on. And it's just, you forget about that side of it of like, it's easy to say like the teacher wasn't particularly helpful, but the teacher's got, 19 other kids in the class and the teacher's got her own life and her own things she's got going on at home, plus whatever's going on with the kids, plus whatever's gone on with the administration at that school, right? And so, especially at that little kid age, right, where you want every little kid to reach the stars and be the best that they can be, it weighs on you. And I think, for a good teacher, right, it weighs on them. Now, for the other
Yeah.
ones, who knows? But, it's definitely, you go through that day in, day out, it can be hard if you don't have engaged parents, right, that are really trying to help. And, she teaches in the public school system, and that's not always the case, right? And sometimes, they have some low income families and the parents do care, but the parents can't be there, right? Because they're doing the best to just earn the base living that they need to care for the kid, right?
Right.
And so it's a very complex situation. And shout out to all the teachers out there. I could not do your job. I appreciate that you do your
Amen.
job. I don't think teachers get paid enough, so we should fix that. But,
Yes.
Kudos to you for being able to do that. And I think that'll be really great.
I feel like, it's a tough situation for them because while I feel like probably a majority of what they do is not meant to be personal. Like,
Right.
You have to deliver a message that's not the best or whatever it is. It is never meant to be personal. It is just literally part of their job. But to every parent whose child is with you, it is so personal. So that's an impossible situation to sit in as a
is.
teacher.
Yeah.
And I think it relates to leadership as well, right? Like if we look at our own careers, right? There may be times that your VP tells you something they don't believe in, but they have to tell you, right? And they have to make the message go through. I remember a situation at work that was very hard for me of having to tell people something I didn't believe, right?
Yep.
And, you want to be there for people and you want to have that good relationship with any sort of associate because that makes a better work environment, right? But I feel like in leadership, you come across those situations probably more often than we care to admit. And, you have to do what's right by the company because ultimately that's your job, right? And it's the same kind of thing for a teacher. Ultimately, it's the teacher's job to do what's in the best interest for all students while attempting to accommodate those students that, maybe have different needs.
Yep. Do you think your mom would ever have interest in coming on the show? Because I think it would be really
We gotta get
cool.
Rhonda.
I mean,
All right.
like we
Look.
just got to hear from a recruiter. I think it would be really cool to hear from a teacher.
She would probably love to. She called me this morning and was telling me about the podcast she listened to about neurodivergent kids, and she has thoughts. She
There you
listens
go.
every single week. She tells me she's a little bit behind on episodes. So shout out, Mom, when you hear this. We want you on, babe.
Yes.
So we'll figure out how to make that happen. My dad will have to set her up with the computer equipment, but we'll make it work.
Oh, bless her.
I love
Yeah.
it.
No, it'll be great.
In more positive news, we're taking the kids back to the happiest place on earth. So I mean, we're like 9 days out from Disney, and I am so ready.
Those of us who are not going to Disney are jealous, and we don't want to talk about it. So it's whatever. It's fine.
I never thought that we would be some of these parents, but we are.
We
We're
still
hooked.
haven't taken Liam. We have to take him like soon. I've got to plan a trip.
No, what we should do, group trip.
Yeah.
We can all go.
I don't need much of an excuse at all to go to Disney. I will make it happen.
Let's do it. I'm down. Let's go. Disney. Disney.
We got to find the time to do it.
Mhm.
It'll be great.
I think we should go while they have the Christmas stuff out.
Oh, yes. Christmas.
Which starts
is when?
like November.
Okay.
So, fun fact, if you don't know this about Disney World, I watched this whole behind the scenes thing. Disney World's amazing. Like it's insane.
They
But
pump
literally,
snow.
yes. So literally Halloween, October 31st, they finish with Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. At the end of that, they have a crew of thousands of people who literally go through that park between the time they close on the 31st and they open on November 1st. That transforms the park from Halloween to Christmas in one evening. I cannot imagine what the undertaking, like that is some management skills.
Can you imagine that project plan?
No.
Well, and the travel people that specialize in helping you book your Disney travel, which by the way, they're called fairy godmothers.
Fairy godmothers.
You can work with them for free. So seek one out. We only used one for the first time we went, but it was a huge help because we knew nothing about it. She completely prepared us. But they will tell you if you want to really get a bang for your buck, plan your week to be there on that week of the 31st, because then you can be there a couple days leading up to the 31st and see all the Halloween stuff. And then before the end of your trip, all the Christmas stuff will be out. So you get to literally see both and only pay for one trip and go home.
It's genius.
It is genius.
I've also heard the best time to go where the crowds are like the least, and it's also not like 114 degrees because it's Florida, is like February.
Huh.
That's what I've always heard. Like February is low crowds, very mild weather, not a lot of rain and all that kind of stuff, but also not super hot, not super cold. I was like, okay.
Another fun fact is that if you are staying at one of the Disney resorts, which they have like 3 tiers of them, they have the really budget friendly, they have the mid-level, and then they have the frou-frou places. No matter the resort, you get free entry into their Typhoon Lagoon water park the day of your check-in. So even though you can't check into your resort until 3:00, you can get to Disney as early as you want to, leave all your baggage at your resort with them, take a bus over to the water park, and spend all day at the water park for free before you can then go back, check in, have dinner, whatever you want to do. So that's what we're doing this time. We're leaving at the crack of dawn, like 5 a.m. early, to get on our plane and go so that we can spend the day because it's still, October, it's still very warm in Orlando.
It's still very warm in Georgia. Are you kidding me?
Right. So, if we're going to have why not? I'm just trying to get the most bang for our buck. So I moved our flights up. Jessica about had a stroke when I told her what time we had to leave the house. I was like, you know what? It's fine. You love Disney, so you'll get over it when we get there.
The kids are not going to sleep the night before anyway.
No,
nobody's sleeping, so just load up and go.
No way. Yeah.
I love it.
Shout out Disney.
That'll be a lot of fun.
That
What
will
are
be a
y'all
lot of fun.
are y'all doing it? Wait, when is y'all's fall break?
We're on fall break right now.
That's why Rachel's
Oh.
off today.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you did tell us that. That's
Mhm.
early.
Ours is the same week as yours.
See, you should've
But I'm
packed your
not
bags.
going anywhere. I know.
Jeez.
I
do they
just
do-
feel bad. I can't take Liam to Disney without my husband for the first time. Like if we'd already been, it'd be fine. But he can't not go to his first.
Well,
Disney
y'all's
trip.
assignment is to wear Mr. Parker down on
we
the
will.
idea of going to Disney
Got it.
because he seems to be avoiding
Well,
it.
all we have a group trip. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, like we're going. Hey, I bought tickets. This is where you need to be at this time.
Look, and if Jay and Brent, we know Jessica's going to the park, but if Jay and Brent don't want to, they can just hang out at the hotel by the pool or something, like whatever. It's fine.
Now, I'll tell you, Jay really likes the architecture of
It's
Disney
amazing.
because there's
Just
some interesting feats like Epcot itself, the big
remind them
ball.
that we can drink
Yeah.
around the world at Epcot, and maybe they will get on board.
There you go.
And you have Disney friends. I will help you plan the whole thing. You will ride as much as you possibly can and do as much as you possibly can at this place while we're there.
All right, we're
Unless
doing
you
it.
don't want that kind of trip. If you don't want it to be balls to the wall, don't talk to me.
Have you met my kid? It has to be. He will not be still. And
Yeah.
like when he's super excited, you can forget about it. Like sleep, put his sleep.
Yeah.
The thing
Right.
is you need to do enough so that they just pass out cold at night.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's the goal. Like because otherwise they're not going to sleep. So it's got to be so much was done that you just go back and pass out.
Yep. All right, it's a plan. It's happening. Maybe we'll record an episode while we're at Disney all together and tell you about all the
Yeah.
crazy. That'd be so fun.
Well, sorry that this turned into like a Disney geek out session. As you can tell, I'm very passionate. I
love it.
I'm also looking forward to the episode that drops next week
Yes.
because we have a really cool guest that came to see us. Rachel, you want to give them a little bit of a sneak peek on what they can expect out of the next episode?
Yeah. So Scott and I met at Dreamforce. I was sitting at a hotel bar, as you do at Dreamforce. And I was sitting there by myself because I think you weren't there yet, Caramie, and Lily had walked away or something. And Scott just like walks up and he's like, "You look lonely." And I'm thinking to myself in my head, like, this was my one moment to like recompose
Have a
myself.
minute.
Yeah. But super nice guy. We like immediately record this crazy video together because that's what you do at Dreamforce. And we've stayed in touch over the past year, just on a variety of topics. And he actually like read my book, the AI book before it came out, gave me some great feedback. He read the Salesforce Mastering Experience Cloud book that Lily and I wrote. And he's just a great resource. And what I love about Scott is you have no idea what Scott is about to say, but his perspective just comes from this place where it's like a world full of light. And I feel like right now, with everything going on in the world, we need more light. We need more curiosity. We need more innovation, more spark. And anytime I see Scott's videos on LinkedIn, immediately I have a smile on my face. I feel like a reinvigorated sense of connection and like, yeah, we can really do this. So super excited for you guys to meet my friend Scott. He's super great, and follow him on LinkedIn. I promise it'll brighten your day any day of the week. We'll start linking more about him and maybe put a link to his LinkedIn or something like that out there for you guys. But super excited for you guys to meet him. And thank you guys so much for having him on the podcast. He really enjoyed it and thought it was a great time.
He's such a positive person, right? Like, so in this day and time with all the negative that's out in the world, like he literally, and you'll hear all this, so I'm not going to spoil it when you listen to the episode next week, but he really always tries to see the positive in everything. And that's so refreshing because these days, hardly anybody tries to do that anymore. And we all need to take a little Scott with us everywhere we go because we need to be trying to think of the positive. But yes, he's awesome. Can't wait for you guys to hear the episode. It's great.
And I want everybody to know when we say Scott is positive, it is an authentic positive.
Yes.
So it's not one of those rah, I'm a public presence, so I need to appear positive. You can tell right away when you start to speak with him that he's just an authentic dude. You can ask him anything, take the conversation anywhere, and he's gonna be right there with you, because whatever he's speaking from an authentic place. So you're not gonna throw him for a loop. You can just, and having him on the show was the first time I ever met him, and immediately I could tell, like, okay, this dude is for real.
Yep.
So it's good stuff.
It
We're
is.
really looking forward to it. Well, with that, Caramie, you want to take us home?
I sure will. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Coffee Meets Cloud. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and got something valuable to take with you. If you loved this episode, please be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcast so you never miss the next one. And while you're there, leave us a rating or a review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. You can also connect with us online, follow us on social media at Coffee Meets Cloud, or visit our website at coffeemeetscloud.com for updates, resources, and bonus content. Until next time, see you guys later.
And now we'll see you every week. Woohoo!
See you soon, guys.
Bye, guys.